Hello, and welcome to Cooking with Todd. This is Todd. For today's video, I'm doing another canning video. And today, I'm canning boneless, skinless chicken breast. I got a really good deal on some chicken at the store the other day, so I decided to go ahead and pull what I had in my freezer out, which I had about 16, and I kept a couple out for dinner, and went ahead and cubed them up into some decent sizes. And I did that yesterday, so Saturday, and I just covered it a couple times with plastic wrap and put it in the fridge to can up today because I did not have time last night to do that. So you're going to need your chicken cut up, or you can do it whole if you'd prefer, but I would not want a whole chicken breast in a can. So you're also going to need some Better Than bouillon. You don't need this. This is completely optional. I am doing that just for a little extra depth of flavor. You're going to need some white vinegar to clean the rims of your jars. You are going to need some salt. This just happens to be coarse grained sea salt. And I am going to be using 1/4 teaspoon of that and 1 teaspoon of the Better Than bouillon. You're also going to need, of course, a jar lifter to get your jars out of your canner. You're also going to need, which is also optional, a little bit of water. I just have a half-gallon pitcher with some water in it. And, of course, you're also going to need your canner. For that, you're going to want to put about a gallon of water in there. I do that for safety and just mainly safety, to prevent it from going dry and causing a problem. I have my canning rack in the very bottom, which looks like this. It was supplied with the pressure canner. And this is going to be a double layer. At least I'm hoping. I'm not sure how many jars I will get out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and push this off to the back. I'm going to pause this, and I am going to get my jars out. Okay, so I got my jars out now, and for this, you are most definitely going to need wide mouth. If you would use regular mouth, it would be very difficult to get the product out of the jar. I am going to go run and grab a wide mouth and a regular mouth just to show you the difference. Okay, so I ran and got the lids and the jar also. So this is a wide mouth lid, and this is a regular mouth lid. As you can see, there is a big difference. The regular mouth lid fits inside the lip of the wide mouth lid. And here is the regular mouth. As you can see, it's smaller compared to that. You can fit, I believe, 2 additional regular mouths in my canner. I am not sure. I think it fits 20 of the regular mouth, but I'm not doing those today because I do not use that for meat. I use those for pretty much everything else other than meat. So I'm going to start by adding about a teaspoon of my Better Than bouillon per jar. About that much. I'm not really going for 100% accuracy here. And I'm just going to use this to get it out. Then I'll just use a piece of meat to wipe that off of the rim. And I'm going to do this for every jar. And then I will add the salt. But I'm going to go ahead and pause this because I don't think you need to watch me add this to every single jar. So I will be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I have my Better Than bouillon chicken base in all of my jars. Now this is optional, as I said before. So is the salt and the water. If you're on a low sodium diet, just omit the salt and the chicken base. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in about a 1/4 teaspoon of my coarse sea salt to every jar. And if I was not using the Better Than Bouillon, I would most likely be using probably about 3/4 of a teaspoon. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in my water. And to do that, I have this little nifty thing, and it lets me accurately dial in exactly how much I want to add for dry or solids and liquid. And in my case, I am going to add about 25 milliliters or 1 ounce of water per jar. And the only reason I'm doing that is because in past canning adventures with meat, I have noticed that it is lacking in natural juices to be able to cover the entire amount of meat. So I am adding a little extra water to supplement the lack of natural juices. And I'm going to just pour that into the bottom of each jar. Okay, so I'm back. I got water in all of my jars, and after I paused the camera, I realized that I have some measuring shot glasses, and those are exactly 1 ounce or 25 milliliters. So I just went ahead and switched to that as it was a lot easier. I was spilling a lot of water and everything, so I am going to go ahead and just start adding in my chicken to my jars. And that is just really the entire process right there. So just fill it up to the, I'll use this clean regular mouth. I'm just looking to fill it up to right about there on the rim. So this is the process to fill the jars. I will go ahead and bring you back once all these are full. Okay, so I'm back, and I got all of my meat in every jar. This jar here was not completely full, so what I did is I went through every jar and kind of just took a piece out here and a piece out there and put into this jar to fill. Now this jar is not obviously full, and I don't want to just discard this, so I'm going to go ahead and just can a jar of Better Than Bouillon that is pre-made. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in about a little under a teaspoon because I added all that extra salt. So that will kind of mitigate that little amount of waste. And there's that. And I did end up finishing that jar off since it was about 1/3 of the way full. And I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on this and put that to the back. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab my little bowl that I have filled with vinegar, the white vinegar, and I'm going to take a paper towel and kind of just fold it up a couple times like this and dip one end in the vinegar and squeeze it off a little bit so it's not overly saturated, and I'm going to wipe the rims of my jars just like that. And what this is doing is it's removing any excess grease or liquids or particles that would prevent a good seal. Now, if a jar does not seal, it does not mean that the product is not safe. It just means that it is not safe to put on your shelf. So you could go ahead and throw it in the fridge and use it the next day for a meal or whatnot. So kind of comes in handy when you need it, you know. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish wiping these off. And if you get a little vinegar in the jar, it's not really going to hurt anything. So that's why I seen some drop in this jar here, and I'm not really too worried. So this excess vinegar here will come to use in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill this jar all the way up to the rim with water. Right about there, with about, camera can't really pick that up, but it's about 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch headspace. So I am going to, I just realized I forgot to wipe that rim. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this rim. And I do not know what that is, but I'm going to take it out. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my lids. And since this is being processed for greater than, not really sure the time frame, but it's being processed beyond the point that the USDA, or the branch of the USDA that deals with home preservation, recommends. I honestly don't understand why we need one, considering there is multiple countries over there that don't have access to pressure canners and water bath stuff like this just fine, and have not perished due to that. So still baffles me as to why people swear by them. I am going to go ahead and grab my rings, and I will be right back. Okay, so I got my rings, and I'm just going to go ahead and put them on my jar. And once you're starting to feel a little resistance, I like to just go like that, just a little jerk to tighten it. I've never had a failed seal with these by doing it that way. So that is how I personally do it. Other people say finger tight. What exactly is finger tight? Everybody's finger tight could be different. So that's just my method, and I just jerk it like that, and that's my tight. That's my finger tight. So I'm going to set those on my canning rack in my canner that has about 3 quarts of water in it. And since these are being packed cold, my canner is also cold, as to not shock my jars, and potentially they could break. So now I've never really had an issue with putting cold packed jars in a canner with hot water, but since I'm starting out, this is how I'm doing it. I might end up doing another batch of pork, as I did get some pork shoulder, so that might be an upcoming video. I'm going to go ahead and add in that canning rack since I'm on my second layer. And I am not going to process my pork or anything tonight, I don't think. Although it does need to be done. I'm going to be working a lot this week again. So that is done. I'm going to go ahead and grab, can't find my washcloth, so I'm just going to use my towel here and dry my counter off. I'm going to go ahead and just flip it over to the canner to show you how full it is and everything. Okay, so my canner is fairly full. I mean, I could fit maybe 4 more jars in here, so I'm not really worried about skipping those. I don't really want to have a partial canner on my second batch for the pork tonight, so I'm not going to do that tonight, or at least in this batch with my chicken. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat on high to get this going. I'm going to go ahead and get my lid and pop my lid on, just like that. And I got my vent set to release, or the little steam mark. Now, if you don't have this kind of canner, that is fine. There is different kinds of canners. I just like this one. If I had an All-American, by all means, I would be using that thing. But I don't feel like spending $600 or however much they cost nowadays due to the pandemic. So I was lucky enough to get this. And it was constantly out of stock at the beginning of the pandemic, which is around the time I started to can. So I'm going to go ahead and just get this steaming here for about 10 minutes. You'll want it to be a continuous stream of steam. And once that happens, I will go ahead and bring you back. Okay, so my red lid lock right there has finally popped up. And now I'm going to go ahead and start my timer for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I can go ahead and flip this dial here to 2, which is 10 pounds of pressure. And I am looking for my gauge here to be right in the middle of that 2. So that's going to be 11 pounds of pressure. And right around the time it gets to about 9 pounds of pressure, I'm going to start dialing down my heat from a high to about in between a medium high and a medium. So somewhere right in between there. I know exactly which way to point my knob, and it is perfect every time. So it's kind of like a acquired thing with your stove. You know exactly how to do it. So at this time, I'm going to start my timer. So I will go ahead and be back when I'm getting ready to do the next step in the process. Okay, so this has been going now for 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over to 2 and go ahead and let it build pressure until it gets to about 9. So right underneath that 2 on that gauge there. And once it gets to that point, I'm going to start backing my heat off. So I'm going to go to about a medium high at that point. And then once it gets to about 10 pounds of pressure, I will go ahead and put it to the typical location, which is pretty much pointing right down to the corner of my stove. Is where it is perfect, to the point where it releases a little bit of steam right here, about once or twice. I'd say about 3 times a minute, which is about where you want it at. And that is also at 11 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and let this come up to pressure. Once it comes up to pressure, I will set a timer for 75 minutes. And actually, after this red lock here, which locks the lid and prevents you from taking it off when it's under pressure, which would be extremely catastrophic if you would attempt to do it if that was broken. I realized after that I forgot to add my leftover vinegar I have here, which that is just added to prevent my jars from getting deposits from the water onto them. So it's not a real biggie. I will just have to wash my jars with a scouring pad or something afterwards, as I'm live in the city, but I don't really have hard water from like a well, but I still have semi-hard water. It's really weird. So I'll just let this come up to pressure, and then I'll start a timer for 75 minutes. After that timer is up, I am going to go ahead and set another timer for 30 minutes after I cut my heat. And typically it takes about 20 minutes for it to go down to no pressure. And I like to let it sit in there for about 10 minutes or so after. So I just set a 30-minute timer, and that at that time is when I will remove my jars. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and just end my video right here. If you enjoyed watching this video, go ahead and smash that like button. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, make sure you smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to smash the bell so you can be notified when I upload another video. And as always, thank you for watching, and I hope you continue to come along with me on this journey of mine.